Bitch, we run a trap like. Bitch, we run a trap like.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sebring, Florida, where we get set to go racing for a brand new series. Welcome to the Trans Am Championship from the Sebring International Raceway. My name is Olabembo. I'll be bringing you all of the coverage here from start to finish of two of tonight's races. It's going to be a fun ride for us then here tonight as we get set to kick off this brand new series full of American and Australian muscle. And what better way to kick it off than with some good old stock car racing here at the Sebring International Raceway. You can already see drivers lined up and ready to go. 3 classes are getting set to duke it out here tonight. You've got your CPN class, full of the NASCAR next-gen stock cars from the Fords and the Chevrolets. The SLM class, full of super late models. And then the Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS late model, making up your LLM class. 24 drivers have just spent the last half hour qualifying, and now they get set to take it to race number 1 of the Trans Am Stock Challenge. It's not the only race we got tonight. You also got the Trans Am Cup, where we'll be seeing GT1, GT2, Sport, and Club all out to party with some Australian V8 Supercars, Stock Car Pro Series Chevrolet Cruzes, and some good old GTE and GT3 race cars over in your 120-mile race. But for now, it is time for us to get things rolling here for your starting grid for the Trans Am Stock Championship. And on pole position, it is going to be Stephen Colon with Owen Miles starting down in second place. Daniel Voiles will be in third with Mitchell O'Brien in fourth. Colin Cropley is back in fifth with Nathan Norman in sixth. It's Brittany White then to round out your CPN class here tonight, with Christian Brackett starting on pole then here for good old SLM class action. From there, you have Michael Lawson down in second, followed by Chris Harvey and Casey Wells. Oliver Marks is going to be back there as well, with Eric Monaco, one of the CPN class drivers, starting way back here in 13th place after he had an abysmal qualifying run. Matt Jones and Will Parrish, along with Trey Smith, will be rounding out the rest of your SLM class. From there, move back to the LLMs with Dylan Ebrahimian starting on pole position for your LLM class tonight, with Harold Donovan starting beside him on that front row. It's going to be Roberto Crown Jr., Patrick Smith on the next row back. That is Simon Oskin, Connor Monaco, Logan Alexander, and Joshua Johnson bringing up the tail end here of the field. So that is all 3 classes lined up for you and ready to do battle. From beautiful Sebring, Florida, we get set to go racing for 24 laps of action, 90 miles for your Trans Am Stock Challenge season opener. Now, while all these drivers are lined up in the spots they originally qualified in, you will be having them broken down into separate point standings post-race. So if Eric Monaco here, or Stephen Colon, let's say, the number 4 car here, let's say he happens to have a crash and finishes way back in the field, he might have finished 16th overall, but he might get, say, 6th place points in his class. All the points formats and everything like that is available for you down in the description of the live stream, as is live timing, all set up for you or your viewing pleasure, along with a live track map, so you can track your favorite drivers, even if they don't happen to be on the screens. At this point, just have to wait for the field to cross down and take the green flag. We go down the Ullman Straight for the one and only time before we go to green flag racing out of Sunset Bend. It'll be in the hands of the number 88 car. And the number 4, Owen Miles and Stephen Colon will be the two that'll get set to take us to that green flag. Through Sunset Bend. And thank you for joining us for some good old-fashioned Trans Am Stock Challenge action. The pace cars into pit road. And with that, we're green flag racing here from Sebring. One car sliding way off the 118, hard into the barriers. Michael Austin already collected in a huge way to start this race. It's disaster for the 118 and more trouble. The 21 going around sideways in front of the pack. A big stack up deep in the field and 3 cars collected. Drama early on. And we're gonna go yellow. Yellow flag already out for a full course caution, and it only took us 3 corners before we got full course yellow number 1. Harvey O'Brien already out of the cars. A disastrous start in the Trans Am Stock Challenge as Stephen Colon takes us around the Sebring International Raceway. Not at all the start that any of these guys were hoping for tonight. Take a look on what happened in just a few moments. Currently leading the way in all your classes. Cologne obviously leads the CPN class. Leading the SLMs is the 101 of Christian Bracken. And way back in the field will be Roberto Crown Jr. headed up the way for the LLM class. You can see a lot of drivers lost a boatload of time because of that. A lot of SLMs and even some CPN traffic caught up in your LLM field. But as the pace car will leave pit road to pick up the leader, take a look back on what the heck just happened here. We'll start it off with Michael Austin. Coming down the turn number 1, looks like he got clipped by the 144. Yep, shot him sideways and backed it into the barriers. But that was not as big as what happened to Mitchell O'Brien, who lost control and slid back up, collected the 144, the 102, and there you saw the 20 and the 46. All it's involved is these guys stalled getting back onto the track and they couldn't go anywhere. So one to the yellow flag then for the first time tonight. We'll take a quick step back. We're back with more. Hopefully in time for the restart in just a moment. Welcome back to Sebring International Raceway, and apologies for the brief technical difficulties we had there for just those few moments. We have gotten all of that rectified, and just in time, the lights are out aboard the iRacing pace car, and we get set to go. Green flag racing this time by. If you're just tuning in, you haven't missed too much except for a very, very wild start, so to speak, in today's race. We'll jump back one more time and show you all why we're under the safety car for the first time here of the afternoon. As apologies, it doesn't look like even then we'll be able to get a look at anything, as something going awry with our replay systems here. So that is a little bit unfortunate. We'll continue to experiment behind the scenes and see if we can't pick out exactly what it is that happens to be going wrong throughout this field. As looks like now we've got ourselves all sorted. Safety car going to be in this time by. Currently your class leaders are looking to be Steven Cologne in the CPN. Leading the SLMs, it's Christian Bracken's 101, and then Roberto Crown Jr. Leading the LLMs in the 215 after we had a big pile-up over in turn number 3 to kick off the first round action of the Trans Am Stock Challenge. Having their 24 laps of racing action here before we get set to go racing for the 120-mile-long Trans Am Cup race, which will be 32 laps later on tonight. Just now going to wait for the pace car to take us down the Ullman Straight before we will get back to racing action on lap number 4. Fairly jumbled at the back portion of the field, so we'll have to wait with bated breath to see if that's going to cause any problems on the restart here. But for now, we're going to come around through turn numbers 3 and 4, excuse me. Sunset Bend, so used to the oval side of things. Steven Cologne takes us back to the green flag. Already you can see drivers jockeying for position deeper in the field while your CPN cars, for the most part, get away clean. So far, so good. The action is all deeper in the pack at the moment, where we go side by side with faster classes trying to work their way through your LLM field after being collected early in incidents. Up in your CPN field, Colin Cropley trying to fend off Nathan Orman for the 5th position, with Orman trying to lunge it around the outside line down into Cunningham corner. But he's going to actually be put under, or it says he's going to be put under fire by Christian Bracken's 101. So your SLM leader trying to pick his way through some of the CPN traffic. This is some of the hazards of, you know, the CLMs going, or the SLMs going up against the CPN cars here. They've got that much more mechanical grip in the corners because they're much more aerodynamically sound, but those CVN cars, they just pull so good on the straightaways. They're just able to rocket away from them. Speaking of CVN traffic, here's the number 20 of Eric Monaco. He's trying to find his way around Casey Wells, and in fact, the 215 of Roberto Crown Jr., your LLM leader. Casey Wells is going to get through the second to last runner in your SLM category, as will Eric Monaco. Daniel Voiles, meanwhile, hangs on to the second position with Owen Miles right behind him as we officially complete our first lap of green flag racing in the Trans Am Stock Challenge. Michael Austin, Matt Jones racing it out in SLM at the moment, fighting it out for about 5th place. 11th overall. They've got Oliver Marks. Made that a Trace Smith right in front of them. Smith was among the slowest of the cars at SLM qualifying, but finds his way up the field after that turn 3 melee early on. There goes the 118. Michael Austin powered around the outside line of Gurney Bend up towards the hairpin, and it looks like Matt Jones will follow suit. They'll move up to 10th and 11th place, but Smith battling back into the hairpin. Enough to just hang on to the position, but probably not for long. As we continue to slowly but surely pick our way through this 24-lap race. Behind, the battles are on in LLM. Logan Alexander just lost out to Samet Ozkin. The slower classes don't have to get too much attention. We'll try to give them the love they need here today. This pack of Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS late models struggling at the moment, since they've got Eric Monaco on the lead lap and trying to pick his way through. Monaco was the driver that actually spun out to bring out our first safety car period of the season over in turn number 3. And now just can't find a hole. 268 Harold Donovan up the inside of Logan Alexander, while the 144 goes on the attack as well. Got two really fast cars here trying to fight their way through traffic, this battle with each other. It's got to be frustrated because these guys know they're not gaining anything by sitting around back here. Finally, the 144 is going to get through, and the 21 will follow suit. And they'll get their way by that batch of limited late model traffic. Meanwhile, Casey Wells fighting out there Monaco. So interclass battling. That's for the 12th position overall. But you saw Monaco able to rip the high side and pull clear. Daniel Voiles under fire for 2nd place overall from Owen Miles. But Voiles going to hang on in the Aflac 99 compared to the Nationwide 88. Meanwhile, there Monaco continues to pick his way through traffic. Battle is on for the 2nd position in the LLM category. It's Patrick Smith trying to take the long way, or Dylan Ibrahim trying to take the long way around the 206 of Patrick Smith. That's going to switch back to the inside as they exit the Fangio chicane and come up towards Cunningham Corner. Both drivers hard on the brakes. Still got the outside line for Ibrahim. That's going to turn to the inside for Collier. And up to Tower Turn, still side by side. Neither driver willing to let this spot go. Ibrahimian, I think, might just get it here on the outside of Tower Turn down the Flying Fortress straight. No, he doesn't. They've been side by side for over half a lap now, and they're not going to go away anytime sooner. Through a very one-line corner, Bishop Bend. Finally, Ibrahimian will pull clear just as they hit Gendabia. While all this was going on, slight problem for Joshua Johnson deeper in the field, the 221, sliding off and wide at Cunningham and losing a little bit of ground, but luckily kept the car straight and did not spin it. Continue to work our way through as we'll check back in on the battles further up here. That was for 2nd place right there. Michael Austin just getting around Will Parrish. 118 to the 106. Starting to do battle with Oliver Marks right behind them. Out through Gurney Bend to the hairpin. Will Parrish have what it takes to battle back? Deep on the brakes. I think he's going to he tried to have a look, but Eric Monaco attacked instead, and that only cost them a boatload of time. So Monaco still trying to gradually, delicately, I think is a better word, trying to gather his way up and through while not trying to disturb these battles as much as he can. Monaco just keeps on kind of catching all of this traffic at really inopportune moments. Don't forget, we still got pit stops that'll be coming on up before too long. This is universal across both the Trans Am Cup and the Stock Challenge. Fuel tanks have been restricted to force one round of pit stops for, at the very least, fuel across the board. Add a little touch of strategy into the races. Now the Austin versus Monaco, but look at how much more speed Monaco's got in his next-gen stock car. That's going to change hands here as the 118's got the mechanical valve, but hobbling a bit over the Sebring bumps as we hit the runway. And there, Monaco's just going to out-drag down the front straightaway. In a straight line, there's just nothing that can compete with the straight line speeds in your stock car challenge field. Or your stock challenge field, I guess I should say. They can catch a little bit in the corners that might help them out at tracks such as Lime Rock Park, where we'll go to later on throughout the season. But for the time being, they're going to have to kind of deal with what they got. Miles is closed up again on Voiles. This is the fight for second, and he'll try to lunge for it around the outside line. No real space, though, as they'll have to tuck it in line for the time being as we hit tower turn. All the while, Stephen Colon building out his lead of 7.4 seconds. If there's going to be a move for this position, it's likely going to come out of the Ullman, down the Ullman straight and in towards Sunset Bend here. Miles is going to have a long drafting run all the way down the straight, down the stretch as, oh, Casey Wells hard into the wall. Casey Wells backs it into the tire barriers in a big way. And we're going to go yellow again. So second safety car period as Wells takes a hard slap into the tire barriers at, I believe, the tower turn. We'll stack them all up and we'll get ready to do it all again. Stephen Colon currently leads the way still, and it's Christian Bracken in the 101 here. You see with Eric Monaco right behind him, that hangs on to your SLM lead. Roberto Crown Jr. having started to build up his gap in the LLM lead, but Dylan Ebrahimian will now be right up on the back end, will easily be able to get himself a solid run later on into the event then. The good news is, unlike the initial incident that put us under our first safety car of the evening, this one is much more straightforward, and I think Casey Wells might very well find himself down and out of the race tonight. It's a big, big shame for all of these drivers, as we'll continue to watch as the number 4 of Stephen Colon will scramble to pick up the iRacing Porsche 911 pace car. You can see pace car leaving its post at the start of pit road. The caution came out right as Cologne had been coming around turn number 1. This is going to reel down that 7.5-second lead for the overall race lead as well. And the lead in CPN, as everybody's going to get bunched back up. Right, we will get a look on what happened to Casey Wells here. This was the initial incident coming around. Oh, yeah, got up onto the grass and just lost control. Complete and utter passenger there in that one. We'll get a secondary look. This is on board with Wells. Side by side of the run to tower. Just went too wide into the grass and we're there. There's just nothing you can do. Tried to pedal it to get it back up onto the racetrack, but it was going to be no dice for Casey Wells in that bid. We'll get one more look here. This was in the lead up. That is not a pleasant sight to see. We'll hang tight for one lap here as we just wait to see if we'll be getting any of our scheduled pit stops under this latest safety car period here. Wells has been successfully towed back to pit road. We can see all the damage so far done to that car. So it might be a tough ride to see if he'll be able to get himself back going. I highly doubt it, but you know what they say, the possibility is always there. Still got all of your SLM and LLM traffic struggling to try and catch up to the race leaders who are getting set to come on around through the Ullman Straight. So it's a good chunk of them haven't even come around through turn number 4 yet, so it's going to be a bit here before everybody's fully caught up behind the IRC pace car. I'm pretty sure the 21 and the 144 will be able to get their laps back, but we'll have to see how they're going to rule this one. Around to the Ullman Straight, and I'd be surprised if we didn't see anybody come on down to the pit lane at this point in time. It's been a fairly late run, so I think we can expect to see at least a few takers. And in fact, no, your entire CPN field are going to be staying out. Here comes some of your SLM runners into pit road. So you have Oliver Marks, Matt Jones, Trey Smith all taking to the lane. Watch the background to see if any of your LLM drivers will be in as well. So far, just these three, so they'll be able to. I think they're going to be good to go to about the end of the race, and you can see there's your LLM leader, Roberto Crown Jr., along with Dylan Ebrahimian, also coming down into pit road, as his third place runner, Patrick Smith. Matt Jones will be the first one out of pit road. Oliver Marks will be second, with Trey Smith right behind him. And just about everybody in your limited late model field going to be down and into pit lane. So it's a busy pit road at the moment for service. And even the 2-lap cars back here, the 144 and the 21, are also going to be down and in. Crown was the first one in, he'll understandably be the first one out. Right, so pit stops are complete. Cologne still leads the way from the Sebring International Speedway. We'll step back once more and we'll be back in time for the restart.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race.
Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Aloma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Low. 4 wide at the stripe.
For all his work here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out?
Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
Still under the safety car period here as we get set to cross over to halfway. Both Mitchell O'Brien and Chris Harvey have been granted waiver rounds to get back onto the lead lap, which will put Stephen Cologne still up into the race lead. So as we hit the halfway point, this time by the line, let's take a rundown top to bottom of where we're looking at so far in your race tonight. Stephen Cologne is your race leader so far, with Daniel Voiles running back here in the second position. Miles will be third, with Brittany White sitting back in that fourth place in CPN. For there you've got Nathan Orban in fifth. Colin Cropley is sixth for CPN. Then you got Eric Monaco and of course Mitchell O'Brien rounded out the tail end of the field at the moment. Ninth place for your CPN field. For there you'll have Christian Bracken, who will be running at the moment 7th place overall, leading your SLM field with Michael Austin back here in 2nd place. Will Parrish was 3rd with Matt Jones, Oliver Smith, and Trey Smith taking it up in 6th. And then it is, of course, one Chris Harvey to be back in 8th place. He is the tail end runner here of your SLM field as he tries to catch up to the pacing line. Roberto Crown Jr. has led your LLM field from the drop of the green flag. He looks set to continue to do so here for the Sebring International Raceway with Dylan Abrahamian in 2nd, Smith 3rd, Johnson 4th. Cologne is back, or Austin, excuse me, is back in 5th with Monaco, Donovan, and Alexander bringing up the field. We do, of course, have Casey Wells, another member of your SLM field, who is down and out for the count so far after he brought out our 2nd safety car period of the race with this mess that happened as was attempting to overtake the 46. The 146 here of Matt Jones just went to the outside, put in the grass, spun outside, was then backed in hard into the tire barriers. Safety car is in this time as we get set to go back racing on lap number 14, leaving 11 laps left to run in your Trans Am Stock Challenge Series for their season opener before we move over to our 120-mile-long race for the Trans Am Cup. We'll be seeing GT1, GT2 Sport, and Club cars out to play in a 28-car field for 32 laps. Under this latest round of pit stops, you had Oliver Marks on backwards, Matt Jones using backwards in this field. That's about 11th place on back. All come down for pit service. Cologne and everybody else has stayed out. Now, these guys are going to have to come on down at least once to make a guaranteed fuel stop. So this is going to be interesting to see how they play this. They're likely going to wait until later on to get this one done. But this could work out in O'Brien's favor because Mitchell O'Brien came down onto the safety car period and got waved around to be put back onto the lead lap. So he could easily become the net race leader as a result of all this, despite his earlier woes. Kind of looking over the schedule on what we can expect to see coming on forward, and this is the same schedule that's going to be up for wasn't the same schedule, it's up for the Trans Am Cup as well. But after the season opener at Sebring, we'll be swung on over to Charlotte Motor Speedway, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Then we get Bathurst Mount Panorama. That is our first double points race of the season. Now the double points races, they're 30 miles longer than the original counterparts. So these races, the 90-mile races will turn to 120. The Trans Am Cup races will turn to 150-mile races. Then you got WeatherTech, Lime Rock Park, and the Middlehouse Sports Car Course. The Trans Am Cup then goes over to the Nürburgring Nordschleife for a 10-lap race for a double points race there, whereas the stock challenge will only be running on the Grand Prix circuit for their double points race. But there is Monza, Indianapolis, Long Beach, and we wrap it all up at the Circuit de 24 Hours du Mans over in the French countryside for our final double points race of the season. So a lot of very, very exciting races coming on up in very short order. And all of them going to be right here. You'll be able to catch all the action. Cruising back down the Ullman Straight on lap number 13. Where we'll get set to go green flag racing this time by coming to the close of our second safety car period of the race. The revs start to build as Cologne gonna put his car back down into the 4th gear. Coming out of Sunset Bend onto the front straightaway. We're back to green flag racing. Daniel Voiles does a good job, but he's going to make a charge for the race lead. Outside line. Moving forward, and he's going to take the race lead away from Stephen Cologne. Voiles now up to first. It's a lunge as well from Brittany White up the inside of Oak Miles, trying to make a lunge for third. As we take off back down around Gurney Bend. Christian Bracken jumped up one spot, put us on the CBN traffic between himself and Michael Austin, so that's a great tactic on his part. Meanwhile, Cologne going for an outside line around the hairpin, trying to take the lead back from Daniel Voiles. No dice. Voiles hanging on for the race lead with all his might here. Cologne going to try back for the outside lines over Cunningham Corner. Mitchell O'Brien, meanwhile, has been steadily working his way up through the field. He just broke clear of the last LLM car. Now he's set to try to run down your SLM field and see if he can overtake them to work his way back up to the likes of Eric Monaco to battle for some positions here. Christian Bracken just lost his spot to Nathan Roman as well. That was for 5th place overall. Doesn't matter about it points-wise, but it does matter to the CPN drivers that he's cutting off here. He's trying to keep them all with himself and the rest of the SLM field right behind him. Cropley's going to go through. Up in front, Voiles again trying to fend off Stephen Cologne and Owen Miles at the same time through a very wide turn 1. Cologne trying to look left, look right, find a way through. He's got the outside for 2, into 3, 4, now out through 5. It's outside line. Cologne gonna go back to the point for Gurney Bend, but they're side by side down the back straightaway. From Gurney Bend down to the hardest braking zone of the racetrack. Cologne breaks clear. Owen Miles attacks the 99 of Daniel Voiles into the hairpin. And Cologne has just taken his race lead back. Beautiful, beautiful overtake there from Stephen Cologne, who went around the outside line, which switched back to the inside, and he made it happen around the Gurney Bend and down that down the straightaway here into the hairpin. Cologne is just that much more confident on the brakes and sealed the deal. Mitchell O'Brien, meanwhile, picking their way through SLM traffic now. Starting to close in on some of the bigger fish up the road. He just picked off all the marks. He's about to do the same to Will Parrish. Meanwhile, Roberto Crown Jr. under 5 and just lost the lead to Dylan Ebrahimian. So Ebrahimian will topple Roberto Crown Jr. as the race leader of your LLM field. This is how Roberto Crown Jr. got that done out of Collier Curve. It was into the Tower Bend. He had the outside line down to the Cunningham, excuse me. That switched to the inside for Collier. That was all she wrote. It was a hard fought pass. He wasn't able to secure for a while, but managed to get it done on the outside of Tower Bend. Further in the background, Connor Monaco also trying to fight for position here. Little by little, these drivers chipping away at each other. Side by side into the hairpin. Owen Miles go around the outside of Daniel Voiles, but he can't get her way through around the hairpin and out of the Fangio chicane. Everywhere you look, you got the battle starting to pick off. We are deep in this race. Michael Austin and Christian Bracken in the side-by-side battle. This is for the SLM class lead. The 101 hangs on, and he's going to get some assistance here from Mitchell O'Brien, who is still trying to fight his way through. He's going to put the CBN car between himself and his opponent right behind him. O'Brien's going to charge the inside of Tower. Well, it opens up the door a bit there for Michael Austin to get through, but Austin is forced to yield. Continuing to work our way deeper through tonight's race, and Stephen Colon will set the new fastest lap of the race. Stephen Colon toppling the times of the 2:01.972 for his fastest lap so far of the race and overall. Showing he is not about to be stopped as there's the pass as Bracken finally gets around Michael Austin. And this is how he did it into turn number 3. An outside line back to the inside, identical of how Colon got his race lead back. And you've still got all of your LLM field slicing and dicing with one another. This is for 20th, 21st, and 22nd with the 208, the 206. It is the 208, excuse me, of Connor Monaco losing after Cement Hoskins. Cobalt Tools number 248. That is allowing a bit of a gap to build up to Joshua Johnson, who was right in front of them. Well, some of you CPN traffic, we haven't checked in on the back portion of this pack for too long. This is Brittany White, Nathan Orman, and Colin Crowell, separated by just a few tenths of a second. The fight for 4th place overall as they fire it down the Ullman Straight and hard on the brakes to Sunset Bend. Looking for an outside pass, no dice. He'll have to try to find a different way to get through there as we enter the lap number 18. We've got 6 laps left to go at the line, so time is starting to run out for drivers that are looking to make these spots work. This CPM battle, the closest on the racetrack, as the 24 is going to find the outside line of the 42, but can't capitalize on that one. And Colin Cropley actually trying to go back at him, and that'll work out for Cropley as he'll take the spot around the outside of the Fangio chicane down to the Cunningham. Drag race in your LLM field down the main straight under the Chevrolet bridge into turn 1. It's outside line for Connor Monaco trying to fend off, trying to get around Cement Oscar, who's trying to fend him off. They've closed back up to Joshua Johnson meanwhile. And finally, it looks like Monaco might have just gotten by Ozkin. Took him a while, but he'll finally get this pass done on the outside of the Fangio chicane and takes it into Cunningham corner. The 248 going to drop further down in this field. Mitchell O'Brien has finally caught back up to cars in his group, and he's going to make an outside pass on the outside line of Eric Monaco. Meanwhile, pit stops underway for your SLM field. Austin, Bracken, Parrish, all down to the lane, leaving Oliver Marks to inherit the race lead overall, as he already pitted them to the safety car period. He doesn't have to stop again. Got this fight for second place between Voiles and Miles still heating up. That's not going to go anywhere anytime soon, though. As now we start to get into the concerning factors of even the drivers here that didn't pit. Remember, Monaco's got the ability here to take a net race lead out of all this, because none of the guys in your cup field, except for him, have pitted. Watching the fight between Orman and Cropley for fifth place on the racetrack, as the Napa Auto Parts 24 tries to catch up to the Nationwide 22. Damage on both these cars from a bit of beating and banging had some time to go. No pass made into Sunset Bend. We'll check back in on your LLM field. Harold Donovan and Patrick Smith still duking it out with one another, and these guys will not be having to pit either because they pitted under the safety car. The 268 of Donovan trying to fight the outside line of Smith. Smith having to really work to hang on. This might be an outside line pass over into Cunningham for the 268. That's been very, very popular so far in your stock challenge field. And they're going to remain side by side through Collier and up into Tower. Marks making a second trip down to pit road, so Marks seemingly wasn't clear himself. So watch the 268 now start to break away. It's interesting for Oliver Marks to be down a second time. This is the second stop he's had. It's only 6.4 seconds, so it looks like a splash and dash for Marks. Might put him, thought might put him a little bit at risk of running into some LLM traffic, but it looks like he's going to be smooth sailing on that front. So we look up to Voiles and Miles, who now hold the closest fight on the track. For the second and third podium positions in your CPN field. As I say that, Michael Austin turning on the burners as he's going to make a pass around the outside of Trey Smith here. And this was a very late move and a gutsy one at that. I mean, he took that one in force. Knew Trey Smith was slower from qualifying and took full advantage of that to just pick him off. That was the fourth there in your SLM field. Miles going to try to once again make an outside pass into the hairpin, but Voiles will again fend him off. 4 laps to go. I wonder if maybe your CBN driver saved enough fuel under the pair of safety car appears to not have to pit. This was the only, like, these fuel limitations were taken into account based off of green flag runs. Harvey clearly wasn't safe. He had to come back down. Now there's the question of, does Matt Jones have the fuel it takes to win this race? Trey Smith about to lose another spot to Christian Bracken, it looks like, as Bracken's looking to make this one around the outside of turn 1. Couldn't quite pull alongside there, but he'll have some momentum in the run up to 3. And you can see he is right there at the moment trying to get through. Ooh, a lockup for Smith. Not see Bracken make an overly aggressive attempt to get back by him. Kind of fed in the throttle there a little bit. You heard it when we weren't on board. There it is. Now Stephen Colon is down into the pits. Couldn't make it after all. Was starting to think maybe, yeah, but nope. With 3 laps to go, your CBN field is starting to come on in. Cologne, Voiles, Miles, all into the box. Brittany White stays out, but Cropley, Orman, O'Brien are all going to be in. Surprised that O'Brien was coming in. I guess he didn't have enough based on when he came down to make it around. Brittany White's the only driver that ended up staying out, though. As meanwhile, these drivers are going to cycle out of pit row. Not too soon for Monaco. Did not want to get caught behind lap traffic of Casey Wells right behind him. So curious to see what Brittany White's strategy was for that. We'll see if he can take it through, or if he's going to opt to come down to pit road. Fight between Johnson and Oskin now. One of the only battles actually on the track at the moment, as everybody else has just been completely split up. Brittany White's going to get around and I believe lap Patrick Smith. She might be Connor Monaco. We'll take 2 laps left to go in your Trans Am Stock Challenge race. And there it is, Brittany White into pit road. Stephen Colon going to re-inherit the race lead as for Brittany White, it is a 4-second splash and dash. She'll lose out to Daniel Voiles, but will avoid losing to Nathan Orman. She'll exit pit road in 4th. And for that, pit stops are complete. We just now have to wait on this race to reach its conclusion. Oliver Marks gets around Trey Smith on a very bold move around Bishop in towards Gandamia. It's not a typical passing opportunity, but hey, I mean, any passing opportunity, or any point of track, any passing opportunity, if you try hard enough. So they get set to start their penultimate lap, and now Smith holding up Chris Harvey in the 144. Harvey going to jump on the binders and make an outside pass before they even enter Sunset Bend. So I think Smith kind of backed off a bit and let him have that one. Stephen Colon fighting around the outside of the 248, trying to maintain a 2.3 second lead. That has started to shrink. Some opportune lap traffic though between himself and Owen Miles will allow him to maintain this race lead though for the time being, as now Marks trying to threaten Chris Harvey. Or the other way around, Harvey's trying to threaten Marks. Well, Parrish in the 106, under fire through Gurney Bend. The gap going to grow a bit as he got a better run in his Ford Super Late model. Well, Cologne will take the final lap and start his last trip around. Brittany White has been slowly reeling in. Daniel Voiles, we've seen if she can pick off a third place finish on this last lap of a 90-mile race. It's not the only one. Chris Harvey wants to go after one more spot to get around Oliver Marks. Be for fifth place in your SLM field. They've still got a whole lap to settle this battle as well. It's going to be almost side by side down the Old Straight into Sunset Bend. .144 trying to find the outside of Oliver Marks' 151. They'll start the final lap. Side by side. Down the front straightaway for fifth place in your SLM field. To the outside is the 144. Trying to take it around the outside line of turn one. Down for two. Marks fighting back as they start the final lap. Meanwhile, for Stephen Cologne, he will round turn numbers. Well, Sunset Bend, whatever number that one is. And he will win the opening race of the Trans Am Stock Championship. Colin Cropley will have to settle for sixth place. O'Brien could not catch him. Matt Jones all on his lonesome in your SLM field. You see the 18 of Michael Austin right behind him. As the battle between Harvey and Marks grows out to an almost insurmountable gap. Through Sunset Bend, and it'll be Matt Jones to win the opening race. In the SLM race, and he's out of fuel! The 46 out of fuel! Here comes Michael Austin trying to catch him at the line, but he can't get there! Matt Jones hangs on as he coasts to the finish line, out of fuel! What a wild end to the race. Thought for a moment Jones wouldn't be able to make it. He's going to come to a stop on the front straightaway, completely out of fuel. And that will then leave Dylan Ebrahimian the race leader in LLM. The last driver to cross the start-finish line as well, the last one on the lead lap. Holy cow, what a way to end out the race for us here tonight. I mean, that is some legendary stuff there. You love to see it when a race as good as this one comes out to such a dramatic finish, and we will get a look on your official post-race results then as we get set to wrap out your Trans Am Stock Challenge race here for the Sebring International Raceway. Stephen Colon, the overall race winner by 2.8 seconds over Ole Miles, with Daniel Voiles back in third, Brittany White is in fourth, Nathan Woman is in fifth, Colin Crobley will be in sixth. Mitchell O'Brien is seventh, Eric Monaco will round out the top 8 of your CPN field. Matt Jones is in ninth overall. He wins an SLM after running out of fuel on the final lap, with Michael Austin in 10th. Christian Brackett rounds out the SLM podium with Will Parrish, Chris Harvey, Oliver Marks, Trey Smith, and then, of course, Casey Wells bringing up the tail end of your SLM field. From there, it's Dylan Nebrahimian to win in LLM with Roberto Crown Jr. in second, Donovan third, Smith fourth, Monaco fifth, Oskin, Johnson, and Alexander round out the field. So that's it then for the Trans Am Stock Challenge. Don't go away. You've got yourself the Trans Am Cup. It's GT Cars coming on up next in just a few moments. set to kick off the season opener of the Trans Am Cup. If you're just joining us, hello and welcome to the show. My name is Nolan Redbull, and I'll be taking you through all of the action here from start to finish tonight for what should be a very exciting 32 laps. You missed one barn burner of a race in the stock challenge for the Trans Am Championship, where you saw SLM division winner Matt Jones run out of fuel out of the final corner on the final lap and fall from a 3-second gap down to less than a second. Still managed to hang on tight to his positioning. So we're going to get set to kick it all off once again here in this one. It's 4 different classes. GT1 filled with the Chevrolet Corvette CA.R GTE and the Ford GT GTE. The GT2 class with the Ford GT GT3, as well as the Sport class holding the V8 Supercar Ford Mustang GT. Rounded it all off with your club class with the Chevrolet Cruze from Stock Car Brazil. As the field is starting to head on out on its one and only pace lap, we're going to take a rundown of what it's going to look like for your starting grid here in tonight's race. With Trey Smith on pole, Will Parrish down in second, Mitchell O'Brien and Colin Cropley around third and fourth. GT2 class leader Simon Bloomfield will be in 5th place with Carter Joey in 6th. Cologne from GT1 will be in 7th. GT2 runner Marcus Dawson is 8th. Eric Monaco is 9th. Jose Mills in 10th. Bracken and Miles will round out the top 12 drivers in this field. Moving on down through the order, you're going to be having the likes here of, on this one. Just getting myself a little bit kerfuffled here. Dennis Marshall and Joshua Johnson will be in 13th and 14th. Of course, Marshall being the first driver from your club class, or sport class, Chris Harvey and Patrick Smith will be down in 15th and 16th. Mitchell Collins and Casey Wells in 17th and 18th. Sam Schluter and Dylan Ebrahimi will be 19th and 20th. Sam Oskar will be the last driver in your club class, which will kick off Caleb Reynolds to start us off in your club class, as Oscar rounded out the sport class drivers. From there, you've got Declan White, Connor Monaco, Axel Benoit, Matt Jones, Quinn Riley, and Veronica Ryan to bring up the tail end of this field. 13 seconds are separated first place all the way back to 28th, on the grid. So it's going to be a tough ride. You saw a lot of your GT1 and GT2 drivers kind of muddle together. That's going to be a very common occurrence, as these cars do have a tendency to drive somewhat similar. The one big difference, the GTE cars have just a little bit more top-end speed. So it's going to be a tough ride for some of your GT2 drivers who will have to be duking it out with your GT1 leaders all night long. Of course, in our first ever race of the Trans Am Stock Challenge, you got yourself a big crash in turn 1 where one car slid into the tire barriers, and another big wreck in turn 3 that saw 3 drivers pile it up. We're hoping we'll avoid something of that nature happening here tonight. 32 laps, 120 miles, 1 mandatory pit stop, managed by fuel limitations. It'll be in the hands of the Ford EcoBoost, number 2 of Trey Smith, to take us to the green flag. Your field of 28 cars strong, down the Ullman Straight. We get set to take it to the green flag. Pace car is down and into pit road. And it is time to go back. Green flag racing in the Trans Am Cup. Bit of physical contact as we go 4 wide, deeper in the pack. Car sliding out onto the grass as we hightail it down to turn number 1. Trey Smith gets away clean while the rest of the field dicing and slicing it out. trying to just hang on and maintain any sort of positioning. On intense drive though, as we went 4 wide through turn number 1. GT1 drivers now lock out the entire top 5, with Smith leading, Bluefield leads GT2, Harvey leads the sport category, and Declan White leads the club class. 2 of the Corvettes stuck at the moment in 3rd and 4th. They're trying to close up to their 4 GTE counterparts up the road. See a lot of your GT2 traffic kind of fiddling around in the background here as they try to get themselves sorted outside line for Mitchell O'Brien, who will overtake Colin Cropley for the 3rd position overall. Smith leads the first lap to green. As we get set to single file it out. Cologne now trying to lunge off the inside. Contact with the number 20 Corvette. Stephen Cologne bullying his way through into the 4th position, now trying to run down O'Brien. Here comes Simon Bloomfield leading your GT2 category, just trying to overtake the GT1 NVIDIA Corvette C8.R. Meanwhile, back in the pad, this is where some of your GT2, GT1 traffic is starting to mix it up with some of your sport cars. Now, this is the big thing about your sport categories here. The V8 Supercars don't have nearly as much downforce as the GT1, GT2 cars have, but they do have a higher top speed, which is why sometimes these guys might be struggling to fight their way through. Like look at Owen Miles. He just cannot compete with the top end speed that these cars have. So Owen Miles floundering in his GT1 Corvette as V8 Supercar sport traffic works its way by him. Check in down at the pack here in your club category. We haven't talked about them so far throughout this race. Declan White still leads the way of your batch of Chevrolet Cruzes. Way at the tail end of the field, these cars are going to be very evenly matched and not able to mix it up with the other classes as they'll try to fight with each other. There's Casey Smith Oskin that you just saw trying to go side by side. Meanwhile, Patrick Smith going to try to launch to the inside and make up some ground in his GT2 Ford GT3. Battle about to be on for the race lead as Will Parrish closing in on Trey Smith, making the look to the right-hand side. Parrish sets the fastest lap last time by, trying to take it long way around. Can get there by the time they get to the apex of turn number 1. Looking for the outside into 3 though, and still no hole. How about Cologne, though, working the outside of Mitchell O'Brien. You'll break up into the podium positions in your GT1 category. Meanwhile, Bloomfield and Joey duking it out for the GT2 class lead between the 142 and the 154. Miles continues to struggle. Now he has damage on the right front. You can see it on this onboard shot here as he continues to fight with some of your sport cars. Mixing it up near the tail end of the field. Here is Patrick Smith in his GT2 car, still struggling as well with the 251 Ford Mustang GT. And the 2 Ford GTEs that lead the way. Trey Smith and Will Parrish still pulling now 6 seconds clear. The rest of the field in just 3 laps because of how hard they're fighting behind them. Mitchell O'Brien has now started to close on into this as well. And meanwhile, they're side by side in their club class here for second between Caleb Reynolds and Axel Benoit. Benoit trying to find the long way around. Sorry, that's Reynolds trying to find the long way around Benoit. And he'll do so. That was out of Tower Bend. Now down through Gandavian. And Bishop in towards Le Mans. 330. Oh, so close to rubbing up against the 378. It is on in your club class at the moment as Declan White going to sneak through in the 369. Meanwhile, battles on for the lead, side by side. Trey Smith putting Will Parrish under heavy fire as they exit through the Gurney Bend and onto the long straightaway in towards the tightest hairpin on the racetrack. Mitchell O'Brien trying to find a way through, looking left, looking right. Is Parrish have enough speed to dive it into the hairpin? No, he doesn't. He's not able to go for the lead. But it is a fierce fight at the moment for the GT1 class as they try to get themselves sorted. We'll check back in with the club guys as Mac Jones now attacking Caleb Reynolds into turn 3. Some thrilling racing all over the place. No matter where you look, there's something going on. As Cologne breaks his way up into 4th place around the 5th place driver, Colin Cropley, who just lost out to 2 different Fords. One of them being in the GT2 class. Chris Harvey, your current leader in sport. But not by much, as Dennis Marchand is hot on his heels and is trying to find a way through in the 237. Going to be close enough this time around to have a look down into Sunset Bend, and sure enough he wasn't, but credit to him, he certainly tried. Simon Bloomfield trying to get around Colin Cropley, and Cropley going to take it around the outside line in his Corvette and force Bloomfield back down to 6th place, and that's going to put Bloomfield now under fire by Carter Joey for the GT2 class lead. Making good time so far in your Trans Am Cup race. There's the move up the inside of the hairpin. Goes to 154 of Carter Joey, trying to overtake Simon Bloomfield for the lead. Not able to find a hole though. He'll have to slop back in line. Dennis Marshall, meanwhile, on the offensive. He'll take the outside line away from Chris Harvey in the hairpin and go for the sport lead. Marshall having to fight this one the long way around Cunningham. They've got Owen Miles, still pressure behind them. The GT1 car trying to find a hole. And they're still side by side up in the tower, but finally, Dennis Marshall is forced to yield. Harvey hangs on to the sport class lead for now. How about Marcus Dawson and Eric Wanico, GT2 and GT1 cars, dicing it out. And look at how much damage Dawson's got on the left-hand side. The whole left front fender has been torn off of that car. So something has gone really awry for Dawson. As Dawson will try to battle against the Corvette. Don't think he'll be able to, as they'll take it around the outside line of turn 1. Battle for the lead starting to break apart a little bit as well as Trey Smith, Will Parrish, and Mitchell O'Brien starting to lose touch a bit with each other. Caleb Reynolds and Connor Monaco just traded hands as well, a bit further down in your club category as they'll take it around through Sunset Bend. That was for 15th place overall. See, it's much less, it's a lot more jumbled up here in the Trans Am Cup than it was in the stock challenger. You get, so many stark differences. There's a lot more fine-tuning that goes on here in the Trans Am Cup where everything is, each car's got his individual strengths and problems for Patrick Smith, who is way off the track over at Cunningham, and he'll rejoin at Collier without any, I say without any fuss. He just goes off the course again, and I think just there got himself sorted. So problem for Patrick Smith. We'll get a look on what happened here as locks up into the Cunningham bend and just keeps it out of the wall. And there's your fight for the race lead between Smith, Parrish, and O'Brien. Trey Smith once again having to go defensive against Will Parrish and Mitchell O'Brien as these drivers starting to really close on up to the tail end of the number that number 2 car who still sits in the race lead. If you hear the little buzzes of these 4 GTEs and the growl of the Corvette, all still within a second of each other. These drivers have never broken away from more than a second in the run for the top 3, even though they're now 12 seconds clear. It's going to be a fierce fight between these top 3 here, I'd imagine, at least up until the next pit stop window. Colin Crowley, meanwhile, catching up to Simon Bloomfield with Carter Joy right behind him. So Crowley's got himself in the middle of a GT2 sandwich here as he tries to just hang on. You know, Dennis Marshall and Chris Harvey still have not settled their dispute for the sport class lead, with Jose Mills kind of trapped behind them. You take a look at the positions on the overall track map, and you can start to see the wide spread so far throughout this field. Everyone's kind of separated into their own little cliques so far, their own little packs where we're going to be seeing these guys duking it out up until we get down to the pit stop window. That's the other big thing. All these cars have different pit stop times as well. It's going to be interesting to see how drivers will negotiate those. There's the move for the outside line. Dennis Marshall once again trying to overtake Chris Harvey's got the faster line on the exit of the hairpin and hits the Fangio chicane. And the 237 hang on, no he can't. He gets pinched down by the 288, and now Here comes Jose Vills trying to spoil the parties. He's desperately trying to break clear of these sport cars in front as he can try to get up there and battle with some of the other bits of GT2 traffic. It's the same story for Joshua Johnson right behind him, but the problem both of these drivers have been having is the fact that they lack the top end speed to break clear of these guys. They got the cornering speed. That's not enough, though. Well, this is all picking up in the battle way back here. We'll jump back quickly and check in on your club field once again. We haven't talked with these guys in a little while. Declan White, you can see him just up there at the front of this little train, still leading the way in your club class, but they are starting to kind of spread out that little bit more. Axel Bonet has not been able to close up all that much for the second position, and Caleb Reynolds still sitting in a rather reasonable third place at the moment in your club standings, with Monaco, Jones, Riley, and Ryan rounding out the rest of this field. As they go single file down the Ullman Straight and in towards Sunset Bend. Now see, though, 237 starting to pull back a bit as Jose Vills continues to disrupt Joshua Johnson. Now clear to try to see if he can run down and overtake Chris Harvey here. Meanwhile, Trey Smith starting to lose again time. The gap between the top three down to just half a second. Will we see a move from Trey Smith? He's looking to the outside. This is going to be it. Will Parrish going for the GT1 and the overall race lead, trying to take the long way around turn one, but again, can't get close enough to execute the pass down to the opening corner. All the while, Mitchell O'Brien waiting in the wings in his Corvette C8R. I think now we're starting to also see the longer run pace of these drivers set it in, now 14.6 seconds clear. But if you check in the third place driver here, we'll compare the lap times of him to the that of Stephen Colon. You can see there have been points where Colon has sometimes been up to 3 seconds slower. That is all due in part to him constantly battling it out back here with Simon Bloomfield for fourth place overall. Bloomfield is still pulled away big time for the GT2 race lead, and at the moment it's looking like nobody can stop him as he is 4 seconds clear. Yeah, we're close to the 3 seconds clear, though. Still his next closest competitor, who's Carter Joey, right back here. Smith starting to pull away a bit here, and I think that's allowing now Mitchell O'Brien to get a little antsy. He wants to go on the offensive here, but the Corvette, I think, is lacking a bit in the cornering department, or in the speed department, which is allowing these two Ford GTEs to stay out in front. They have caught the tail end of your club class. So we're about to get some proper lap traffic interference. We didn't get that all throughout the stock challenge because of the fairly obvious issue of the full course yellows. We're about to get that here, though. So here's another huge gaggle of cars. Still trying to work it out amongst themselves. Who's going to come out on top here, but we'll have to tune back to the overall race lead as they work their way around Veronica Ryan. You know, working your way through the club class should be relatively easy. It's more when you get up to the sport cars that you need to start worrying a little bit. Meanwhile, the battle's on for the club class lead as well, as he actually just had to trade in hands back here. We'll keep eyes on the battle. We'll look at a replay of them overtake in a moment as Caleb Reynolds just got by the 393 of Declan White. So White's lost several positions in one go here. This was White losing the race lead, though, to the 330. Got a bad run out of Le Mans down the Ullman Straight, and that was all she wrote. The 330 took that pass from the outside line and made it stick into turn one. So the 378 now trying to threaten for the lead as Axel Benoit, hanging on for the overall race, or the club class race lead. And here are the overall race leaders right behind your battle for the club class lead. Trey Smith, an aggressive lunge to the inside, and how about this? Mitchell O'Brien did manage to pick off second place. Took that one down in the turn three, using lap traffic as a pick there. So our battle for second place is heating up as well. Here goes Axel Benoit, side by side with Caleb Reynolds for the club class lead. And here comes the overall race leader trying to force his way through at the same time. It's going to get tight between Caleb Reynolds and Axel Benoit. They try to work themselves through, but now they've got more GT1 traffic kind of spoiling the party here. Axel Benoit going to look to the inside of Caleb Reynolds. Sorry, Declan White going to look to the inside of Caleb Reynolds, and he'll get through. But now open up the door for the 369 car who's going to attack, and all of a sudden it's the 31 that's getting boxed in. Will Parrish being slowed up big time here by our club class traffic as they're all scrapping it out for position amongst themselves. The hazards of multi-class racing hitting hard for Will Parrish, as now he's got to try to scramble through all of the other traffic in front of him as quick as he can. Meanwhile, the high-pitched screams of Ford machinery combined with V8 Supercars and GT2 traffic continuously working our way deeper and deeper into the race tonight as So far, it's been smooth sailing. We've only had one off track so far throughout the entirety of this race with the drop of the green flag. You know what? I think it's about high time we took a look at that start, because boy, oh boy, it got intense in a hurry, and we went 4 wide off the initial start here. We'll watch this one from the air as the field launched fairly well. And watch as everyone behind you, we're going to fan it out and go 4 abreast right there down through turn number 1 with a Corvette taking around the outside line as a couple of guys got unsettled in front of them. So lucky there not to result in mayhem. Nobody in here is able to quite break away from each other. Here's Stephen Colon and Simon Bloomfield now catching up to the batch of club traffic. This is not a fight for class position, more for overall position, as Joshua Johnson is the first driver to hit pit road. You do need to make a mandatory pit stop. This is a bit early, though, to be making that stop. I wonder, I'm not sure if you'll have enough fuel. I think I'll have enough fuel to make it to the end from here. It's an interesting call, though, to come down to pit road this early. So Johnson becomes the first driver to give up track position and come down to the pits. He might have been unsatisfied where he had been sitting and just wanted to get a bit out of the way of all the traffic that these guys have been struggling with. Like your GT1 and GT2 runners are having to work through right now. So we observe the fight for 4th overall between Bloomfield and Cologne get broken up by your club field. This pack that we're reviewing right now, I think, is not going to be broken up until we get down to the pit stop window. I mean, these guys are just so evenly matched at different points on the racetrack. Like the GT2 cars, they're able to close right up in the corners, but they're not able to get by on the straights because they lack the acceleration and the top end speed that your sport field has. Meanwhile, Carter Joey and Eric Monaco now have to start to pick their way through some of your club field. And problems for Cropley, who just went off the course for all of a brief moment. And Cropley having this lockup and having to kind of cut across the course in order to avoid rejoining at a bad point. Oh dear, this is just, it is not ideal, is I think a kind way of putting it, as you'll have 2 of the 4 Corvettes in the field now nose to tail. Cropley will go up against Monaco in the fight for 6th, both overall and in your GT1 field. Now here's the fight back in the pack for 3rd in your club class, as Caleb Reynolds just got by Connor Monaco. I'll open up the door for Matt Jones to work his way by Monaco as well. Johnson just now leaving the pits after a 3-minute pit stop, so To say that was an unintended and an unscheduled pit stop, a bit of an understatement. As we continue to work our way through this race, we are about halfway home. I'll take a quick step back from the mic, let you enjoy the beautiful sounds around the Sebring International Raceway. Eric Monaco goes off the track at Cunningham Bend as Dennis Marshall enters pit road. This is what happened to Monaco. Just slid in too deep in the number 15 Chevy Corvette C8R in your GT1 category. Doesn't hit the wall. Makes a quick rejoin back to the racetrack, and all's well that ends well. Been tracking a few of the battles throughout that brief down period there where we were seeing who was doing what, as Marshall will leave pit road, 32 seconds in the box, so that is a scheduled pit stop then for Marshall. He can now make it to the end on fuel. And all the while, I'm still enthralled by your club class battle, which has been able to keep tight despite having so much lap traffic work its way through. These guys have remained relatively uninterrupted throughout the entirety of their race so far. Maybe the fight for 22nd overall, but it is the fight of the lead over in your club class field as more cars into pit road, and these are all from your sport field having to bail out in the pit road. This is what the GT2s are waiting for. Now they're going to be able to finally break clear and see if they can gain up some time before these guys can get out of pit road. Checking to see if anybody of your other guys in your sport field will be down to pit road. Abrahamian is going to stay out one more. Wait and see where Samet Ozkin is on the field. He's currently battled out with Dennis Marshall at the moment. Some distance back. Marshall has already come down to pit. 32 seconds, about even for just about all these drivers as they're all going to head on out. Ozkin is down in the pit road right behind them. And Dennis Marshall, can he retake the class lead? Yes, he will. So Dennis Marshall up to the net race lead in sport. At this point, just has to wait on Dylan Ebrahimian to come on down in pit. We're not expecting the club cars to be pitting for some time yet. This is really the GT1 and GT2 cars that we're waiting on for their next round of pit stops. As side by side through the Sunset Bend for the Chevrolet Cruze field, Declan White and Matt Jones. Gonna drag race down the pit straightaway here in towards turn one. About dead even on the brakes, they bang doors! The 393 is sent wide. Declan White sends out into the shadow round, the runoff area of turn number one, and I think he's got a broken car. Declan White with a busted race car stops on the racetrack, and that's gonna force a safety car. So that is huge at the moment for Dylan Ebrahimian, who had yet to come down to pit road. And he might run out of fuel because of this. Luckily, the safety car is only going to be leaving pit road there, so they're going to be able to get back behind it soon. They don't have to go an extra lap around, but this is critical moments here. I'm a bit speechless, to be honest, on all of this. What this has done is separate your GT1 and GT2 fields by a lap from the rest of the sport guys, who are going to have to fade to the back of the pack. That's going to allow them to do it out relatively uninterrupted. So Trey Smith holds the race lead. As one by one, drivers will start to line up behind the iRacing pace car. No wave arounds are going to be granted, save for the 178 of Joshua Johnson. He'll get one lap back, but nobody else will. You're only given wave arounds if you're a lap down from your respective class leader. So this has just been kicked off into overdrive. I'd expect almost everybody down to the pit road here. You've still got all these guys deeper in the pack here that are still trying to catch up. We'll be going green with probably around 10 laps left to go in this race. I'm just hoping these guys have enough fuel to make it around and we're not going to end up running out. This is a really bad point for a safety car to come out. We will get a look on board, how about, with Declan White. And we'll have to get a look a little bit further back. This is on board here with Declan White as he will. It's a bit of a bad angle to look at, but you'll be able to see right about here. He's going to get a knock to the door. Right there, and that just broke something in the car, and he brought it to a stop practically on the racing line, which is obviously not an ideal situation, so to speak. Now, who's all going to be in? Unsurprisingly, here comes Trey, Parrish, O'Brien, Cologne, Bloomfield, and more. Everybody is pitting, except for the sport drivers who are already good to go to the end. They'll get back on the lead lap. And of course, Ebrahimian is forced to pit as a result of this, so he might be added to the waiver around list as well. Just tracking all the movements here on pit road so we can kind of get an eye on what's all going on. It's a really busy pit lane at the moment with everybody down and in for service, including all of your club class. See them way at the tail end of the field as well. They will be stuck a lap down as well. Perhaps a blessing in disguise for that one. And here comes all of your GT1 and GT2 traffic on their way out. And in fact, the club class leader beating some of your GT1 cars out as well. Caution flag is out once more from the Sebring International Raceway. We'll be going green this time by. We'll take a quick step away and we'll be back with the restart in a moment. Lights are back on aboard the iRacing Porsche 911 safety car from the Sebring International Raceway. It was determined they would be giving these guys one extra lap to get themselves a chance to catch on up to the tail of the field. If you look over to our track map on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you can see barely anybody's caught up to the tail of the safety car at the moment. The cars closing in on the back straightaway here are all going to be drivers that were just coming out of pit road that are just now catching up to the tail end of the field. As for your sport class, well, they're all the way around on the opposite end trying to catch up as well to the back end of things. So that's why we are taking an extended lap here to give your sport field a chance to close up to everybody else. So one more lap behind the safety car never hurt anybody. It'll be a green flag with 10 laps to go. And it was deemed there would be no waiver rounds given for anybody in this field to prevent any sort of running order confusion. Well, that took all the strategy out of this race, that safety car. So now it is just push, push, push all the way to the end of this race. Trey Smith has been in complete and utter control pace-wise ever from the drop of the green flag to start the Trans Am Cup for their inaugural race. And now I start to wonder if he's going to be able to hold on to that race lead. Mitchell O'Brien's up to second, but look behind. Parrish did not get out in front of your top two. Simon Bloomfield and Marcus Dawson did, so Parrish is down to 5th place overall. Still 3rd in the GT1 class, but with a lot of ground to make up. Onto the Ullman straight for the final time here as we get set to go. Back racing with more as you can see your sport field lining up, just catching up in the nick of time to your club class field. Deeper at the tail end of things as Trey Smith will bring us through Sunset Bend. 10-lap shootout in the Trans Am Cup. Pace cars in a pit road. We're back to green. Trey Smith hanging on so far for the race lead, but here comes Mitchell O'Brien trying to battle back around the outside line for the GT1 class lead. Not able to get there though. Smith hanging on for now. And back in the field, this is where all in the rage is. GT1 and GT2 traffic. Duke now amongst themselves with the two Corvettes side by side. Eric Monaco and Colin Cropley do battle amongst themselves. It's a sandwich of Corvettes here, as all three of them are going to end up in the same boat at once, and now trapped behind a good chunk of GT2 traffic before they can get up to the next one up the road. Mitchell O'Brien. The sport class field, they're a long way back now for the rest of the GT2 traffic, which should allow for their race to commence now unimpeded. Which is obviously good news for your race leaders, as now O'Brien once again trying to make an outside pass, but no room. Same story in Simon Bloomfield's efforts to pass Marcus Dawson. How about Joshua Johnson at the moment, or sorry, made that Caleb Reynolds having to really scramble as he just overtook somebody for a position as well. So your club class leaders starting to get themselves a little bit antsy with one another. Let's look at this mayhem of GT traffic. Everybody trying to get a piece of the action. Everybody trying to force a hole in one battle somewhere on the track or another, whether it be for overall position or just going for another spot in your class. Might have a pass here for Sport. Up inside of the Sunset Bend, there goes Dennis Marshall. Taking it to Casey Wells. Trying to get around Sam Schluter now for the Sport class lead. As they will thunder down the front straightaway. Is there enough to make an outside charge? Answer, no, not quite this time around. But look at how tight your sport field is packed up together. It really helps if you don't have a bunch of pesky 4 GT3s kind of spoiling the party. Save for the one that's still being a bit of a pest in the back here. It's the 178 of Joshua Johnson. It's somewhat getting in the way. Meanwhile, your club cars are now once again free to fight amongst themselves in peace. I have to say, I think your club class has been the most civilized out of all our 4 classes so far in the Trans Am Cup. Every look, there's always a battle taking shape. Especially among the Corvettes, though. They've been really picking it up in the last little while, as Owen Miles and Eric Monaco will trade hands as they try to close up to the NVIDIA machine of Colin Cropley. Oh, and a bit of door-to-door contact sends Miles wide. Getting physical here, as meanwhile Will Parrish just set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:58.13. Trey Smith once again finding himself under fire from Mitchell O'Brien. And now Will Parrish is cleared for third, so he might be finding himself getting himself up in this battle again here before too long. Out of Bishop and down in the Gandabia, and now through the left-hand kink and trying to get a good exit out of Le Mans onto the Ullman Straight is Mitchell O'Brien. Didn't quite get it there. Trey Smith pulling away since he broke the draft. So Smith now going to have to work that little bit harder if he wants to close on up down the front straightaway here over the coming laps. 6 laps now left in competition from Sebring, Florida. Check this fight out here at the moment. This is for second place in your GT2 field between the likes of Marcus Dawson and Carter Joey, 6th and 7th place overall. Meanwhile, Caleb Reynolds! Reynolds is into pit road. A disaster for your club class leader who sacrifices the lead. That is stunning. A second pit stop required for Caleb Reynolds, who is now down and out of the fight for the club class lead. Meanwhile, Smith and O'Brien will continue to duke it out amongst themselves. 4/10 separate these guys for the GT1 lead. Half a second separate though. Will Parrish still trying to close from 1.2 seconds back. Mitchell O'Brien on the last lap by. Another new fastest lap of the race. 1:58.03. We're starting to get closer to the 1:57s as we take 5 laps to go. Mitchell O'Brien is pushing with everything that he has to try to take this race lead away from Trey Smith, but I think Smith might just have the upper hand. I mean, he has been in complete control of this race. Meanwhile, Mitchell Collins and Casey Wells side by side in the sport class. So some V8 Supercar action kicking off again at Sebring. It is Wells with the inside line, or outside line. Collins with the inside. That's going to change as they reach the Gurney Bend. Still side by side down to the hairpin. Dylan Ebrahimian right behind. He's going to lunge it up the inside. And Chris Harvey is going to be through as well on Mitchell Collins, who loses 2 spots in just 1 lap. Meanwhile, your GT2 field starting to get dicey as well, but here comes GT1 traffic. trying to get in on the action. And here's a look for Will Parrish to the inside of the Sunset Bend, trying to take second place away. He's through. So Parrish is back up in the second position here. Can he close it in on Trey Smith with 4 to go? It's a pair of Fords now to lead the way in GT1 with the Corvette sitting in third. But I think right there, Parrish did them both in when he overtook O'Brien in the Sunset Bend. It took a while to settle, and now Smith is starting to pull away, and now he's having to go defensive against the Corvette. That's exactly what Trey Smith needed to secure his positioning. Around the outside line, this is for second place in your Sport Vio, 15th overall. Casey Wells and Sam Schluter at the moment in a fierce side-by-side dogfight at the run towards Cunningham Curve. 240 is going to take advantage of that, and as here comes Chris Harvey looking to the inside. Harvey's going to overtake Wells for 16th place and take third in the sport category. Now Mitchell Collins wants to find a way back through Collier and into Tower. A disastrous lap for Casey Wells. He's going to lose not 1 but 2 positions potentially. And he will. He's less than 2, 3, 1, 3. He's going to lose another spot overall, it looks like, to one of the GT2 cars. Meanwhile, the fight for the lead continues to shrink. It's down now to just 0.4 of a second, but that's for second place. As with 3 to go, Smith continues to extend his lead as he went with the 1:58.01 for the fastest lap of the race this last time by for the likes of Trey Smith. It's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of drivers in this field. We're getting up towards the end of that race. There's Chris Harvey going for second place on Schluter at the moment. There's still 9 seconds back for the sport class leader, Dennis Marshall, but they're going to fight for every last spot. Apart from that, the 288 is through on the 214. All the while, Casey Wells is trying to regain lost ground as well. Schluter will lose 3 positions in just 1 lap in your sport category. Really going to show that in the sport field, if you get passed by one supercar, you're likely to get freight trained. And now it's again, battle of the Corvettes. Monaco versus Miles. For 6th and 7th place, the last point scoring position in your GT1 field. And how's this as well? The fight for second place in GT2 is on as Marcus Dawson just took it to the inside of Carter Joey to try to get through. Joey fighting back though through the Fangio chicane, trying to hang on as we get set to take it to the white flag. A huge lunge for Dawson. Dawson takes second place in GT2 away, but not without a fight, says Carter Joey, trying to hang from the outside of Collier, can't get there, and now will have to sacrifice the spot potential to Colin Cropley's number 20 Corvette as well. Meanwhile, for race leader Trey Smith, he's getting set to come on around and take home the last lap board. Here in Sebring International Raceway, final lap begins, one more trip around. Just like in the stock challenge race, some odd safety cars threw this race up into the air and kept a good chunk of the people going to lap down. We're watching the final view battles positions unfolding. Here goes Carter Joey trying to make the dive around the outside of Marcus Dawson, trying to retake second in GT2. Can't get it into turn 3. It's not going to keep him from trying, though. Can he have another look down to the hairpin? Hard on the brakes, but not enough to get there. He might have to wait until sunset if he wants to make this work. Dylan Ebrahimian is into pit road. He couldn't make it back to the line. So Ebrahimian is pitting. And here comes Cropley, trying to make a move here on Carter Joe. He'll take him on the outside line, and the Corvette is through. And that's only for an overall position, though. It doesn't mean anything in the points. For Trey Smith, though, it's been a dominant run. He has led every single lap, and he'll lead the last one as well. Trey Smith dominates the season opener, the Sebring International Raceway, and he wins the Trans Am Cup in Florida. Behind, Simon Bloomfield will exit the Sunset Bend, and he'll pick up a GT2 race win. Waiting now on Dennis Marshall. As Marshall gets set now to pick up a win. In your sport category, no one even close to him. It's 12 seconds back to second place. Dennis Marshall will win in sport. Mitchell Collins trying to see if he can make a move on Chris Harvey here into the Sunset Bend for the final time, but he will not be able to get there. He'll have to relegate himself down for a lower position. And now that just leaves Axel Benoit, your club class leader, trying to see if he can just secure himself one more spot. This is the last battle on the track between Matt Jones and Quinn Riley as they run through Bishop down to Gandabian and Le Mans. Benoit going to take it down the Ullman Straight for the final time today and bomb it down into Sunset Bend. He will exit the final corner, and Axel Benoit wins it in Sebring for club. That leaves this last battle for third place in the club. He's got to run off the final corner, but it won't be enough. He'll have to settle. What a race we have had so far in this one. Just absolutely a dramatic scene over the Sebring International Raceway as the drivers have all found their way safely across the start-finish line. Let's take a rundown of your official post-race results from Sebring. Trey Smith, the overall winner with Will Parrish, 2.2 seconds back into the 8th back to Mitchell O'Brien. That brings up Stephen Cologne with Colin Cropley, Eric Bonigo, and Owen Miles to be rounding on out your cars over in your GT1 field. In GT2, Simon Bloomfield is your race winner, although he finished 4th overall. Marcus Dawson was 2nd with Carter Joey in 3rd. Jose Mills, Patrick Smith, and Christian Bracken rounded out the field with Joshua Johnson taking up the rear. All the way back at 14th overall, it was the likes here of Dennis Marshall, who found himself with a solid win in the sport category by a very healthy 12 seconds over Chris Harvey, Mitchell Collins, Sam Schlueter, Samet Oskin, and Dylan Ebrahimian rounding out the tail end of the field. That just leaves our club field with Axel Benoit taking a well-deserved win that he had to work for tonight with Connor Martico, Quinn Riley, Matt Jones, Veronica Ryan, Caleb Reynolds, and Declan White bringing up the tail end of the field. What a race then that we had here to kick off a very, very beautiful season opener. When we return, we'll be going to America's home for motorsports. It's the Charlotte Motor Speedway coming on up next. Here, right here, same time, same place. We'll see you all there for more Trans Am Championship racing action.